Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Chapter 3. We're talking about the biologically important molecules. We've talked about carbohydrates, we've talked about lipids, and now we're going to talk about proteins. Proteins are involved in nearly every function of your body. I want to pause for a second and let's talk about what a protein is before we talk about the mechanics of a protein. When you hear the word protein, you think something that I eat. You think meat, you think, peanuts, you think beans, you think stuff I eat. The cow did not make the protein in its muscle for you to eat. The beans didn't make the protein for you to eat. The peanuts didn't put the protein in the nut for you to eat. Proteins are tools. Each protein has a different function, just like each tool in a toolbox has a different function. Every single protein is a tool. It has some job that it does in the cell where it's found. It accomplishes some task, just like the job of a saw is to cut, the job of a wrench is to loosen, the job of pliers is to grip. Each different tool has a specific function. Each different protein has a specific function. And proteins are the most functionally diverse group of molecules, meaning they do way more things than anything else in your body in living things. They're involved in moving stuff, transporting things in and out of your cells. Proteins are involved in your immune system. That's a much deeper, much more complicated story. The short answer is antibodies. You've heard of antibodies against something. Antibodies are very special soluble proteins. Proteins are involved in movement, as in how your body works, how your muscles work. It's all protein. Just like meat is protein, meat is muscle. So when you sit down to a steak dinner, you're sitting down to a big plate of cow muscle. Proteins are involved in storage. Proteins are involved in messaging and sending messages back and forth in your body. Proteins are the most functionally diverse, meaning it's got the most different jobs. It is the class of organisms that have the most different jobs of any did I say organisms? I meant to say molecules. Most functionally diverse class of molecules of all of the different molecules we'll talk about. Proteins are made of 20 different amino acids. We'll look at an amino acid in just a minute. 20 different amino acids. And I want you to think about the relationship between amino acids and proteins is the same relationship as letters to words. I use separate letters to build separate words. I can rearrange the letters many ways to get many different words. There are 26 letters, and out of those 26 letters, we can make literally millions of words. There are 20 amino acids, and out of those 20 amino acids, we can make literally thousands of different proteins. The relationship between a protein and an amino acid is the same relationship as between words and letters. Even more similar in that, what happens if I put the letters together in the wrong order? If I use the wrong letter, I've misspelled the word, and it may not even be recognizable anymore. If I've misspelled the word, it might not work anymore. Proteins the same way. You've got to put the amino acids together in the right order, and if you don't, you broke it. You made your tool with an incorrect shape because you put the letters together in the wrong order. Very important. We'll talk about that more. This shows an amino acid. This is the amino part, the amine portion, the nitrogen with hydrogen on it. That's the amine portion. This over here is the acid group, the carbon with the double bonded oxygen and the single bonded hydroxyl group, C double bond O, OH. This is the acid part. That's how it gets its name, amino acid. This whole structure together is called an amino acid. This center carbon right here has a hydrogen on top. And every single amino acid, all of those 20 amino acids, they all look the same on top. This thing down at the bottom, this R, what is R? Well, this is, carbon from the periodic table. This is oxygen. This is nitrogen. That's hydrogen. We can look all of those elements up on the periodic table. What is R on the periodic table? I'll save you some research, and that is that R is chemistry's version of X. When you were in algebra and you had a number that you didn't know its value, you use X in place of what that number is, and you had to figure out what that number was. It was a variable. So R in chemistry is a variable. It means a bunch of different things can go here. If it's something as simple as a hydrogen, that's one amino acid. If it's something more complicated like a methyl group, that's another amino acid. If it's something even way more complicated as like a big ring of carbon, that's another amino acid. There are 20 different amino acids, and they're all the same on top. How are they different then? They're different as to what is at the R. And what's at that R group makes the difference for the different amino acids. We said that proteins all have jobs. Some proteins are enzymes. We talked about enzymes a few videos ago, and we said that an enzyme was a special tool. Enzymes are built out of proteins. Proteins are the backbone, the framework that the enzyme is built on. So any rules that we have to follow when we're making a protein, we have to follow those same rules when we make an enzyme. We've got to pay attention to those same rules. And the same way I can break a protein, I can break an enzyme. So anything that will destroy a protein, anything that will twist a protein out of shape and break it, we'll do the same thing to enzymes. We'll twist them out of shape. We'll break them. An enzyme is a special tool. It's called a catalyst. If you had high school chemistry, you know that a catalyst speeds up a reaction. That definition is fine for chemistry. I don't really like that definition very well in biology. Okay, fine. It makes the reaction happen faster. Woo! But that's not the whole story when we're talking about biology. Because in chemistry, if you want a reaction to go, if you want it to happen, the easy way to make a reaction go is you put a Bunsen burner under it. You put the thing up on a stand, you light the burner, you put it under it, you heat it up, and woo, it changes colors. Wow! Heat it up to 200, 300, 400, 500 degrees, and you'll make the thing go. We don't have that option in our bodies. You can't just light a Bunsen burner and stick it under somebody's butt to make a reaction go. Well, I mean, you can, and it will make a reaction. But it will not help chemistry. I can't just heat my body up to 200 degrees to 400 degrees to make a reaction go. I'll die. I've got to stay under about 100 degrees, right? What's body temperature? 98.6. I've got to make my reactions happen below that temperature because that's my maximum I can attain. And that's what enzymes do. Enzymes lower how much energy I have to put into the reaction to make it go. The reaction still occurs. It still happens. It just reduces how much energy, the heat I have to add to it, it reduces how much energy I have to put into reaction to make it go. And the last word on this subject, the last point of this, is that if I don't have the enzyme to lower the temperature I can run the reaction at, then the reaction doesn't run. So, what it says here, enzymes make reactions happen. If I don't have the enzyme, then the reaction doesn't happen. What it really means is if I don't have the tool, I can't do the job. If I don't have a wrench, I can't loosen the nut. If I don't have a saw, I can't cut the board. If I don't have pliers, I can't grab onto the thing, okay? Enzymes make reactions happen. Enzymes are tools. We'll talk more. Enzymes also will regulate chemical reactions in cells. Very much like a tool, if I don't push the trigger on the drill, the tool doesn't operate. I still have the tool, it's still functional, but I have to turn it on. So if I turn an enzyme on, now the reaction can take place. If I turn the enzyme off, it stops the reaction. So proteins are what are used to make enzymes. Proteins are tools. Enzymes are special tools.